What's good, everybody? My name is Alckemy. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you advice not only on how to prepare for this 30-day challenge that I just proposed, but I'm also going to be sharing some insight / philosophy on how to just get yourself ready for studio sessions in general. If this sounds interesting to you, then be sure to stick around to the end of the video, because even though this is going to be a long-winded one, I'm not here to waste your time. The second thing is, be sure to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, because this is what I do for a living. So with that out of the way, I've got quite a few tips. We're just going to hop in. Some of this is going to be talking. Some of this is going to be sound design. You're just going to have to get a coffee and roll with me. Let's go ahead and jump into the first one, which is the prep for the challenge. And this is actually something that I'm having to try myself, but that is do sound design in a separate session regarding your theme for the week or just as a whole. So typically speaking, especially if you all watch me on stream, I do the sound design right there at the beginning. I do everything from scratch, and then I bang things out. And it usually takes me like 2.5 hours if I'm on a roll to get to where I want to be. But because I'm doing something every day, I'm going to try to sound design outside of these time limits that I'm putting myself on. The time limit that I'm talking about is the challenge that I proposed yesterday, or last night rather, of making a beat every day for 30 days. And I'm going to only give myself like an hour and a half to craft something together. Now, within that time, like it's a lot of time, but it's also not a lot of time. So if you're having to try to design your snares and your bass and everything all at once, unless if you're really efficient at it, and even for myself, sometimes I have it, sometimes it takes me longer, you're wasting your time, right? And this is supposed to help you be successful. So what I recommend is do your sound design. You don't need to do everything, just your main stuff, like, you know, get a melody down, get a kick down, get a snare, you know, or a bank of that kind of stuff, set up your sample packs and have that ready to go whenever you open up a brand new session. Something that's really easy to do and think about as well, the first week of this is going to be about melodies and chord progressions and stuff. And so if you were to, you know, write a very basic melody, something of the sort, and just be like, you know, something, you know, very stupid like this, right? I know that this is very dumb, but whatever. You can right click this and go save arranger to library, and then you can go week 1 challenge, melody 1. Save that to your library, and then even if you don't use this or whatever, you still have everything in a bank, so you can just pick one of these and start manipulating it. And that way you don't have to get in and start trying to change the melody or start trying to do things. You can immediately just, you know, start getting into your presets and pull something up, or even have a project that's ready full of presets that you like or something, or bounce some audio out with this melody to where you know that you're going to want to manipulate it, right? So having a starting point that you don't have to guess and don't have to come up with nothing, because a lot of times, especially for me, I try to wing it and I have zero idea with what I'm doing, and sometimes it works, most of the time it does not work, and then I end up hating whatever it is that I'm writing. So the separate thing that I wanted to give you all is actually something that we're going to do together, and that is use either a 128 rack or XO or Atlas to organize any kind of resampling folder that you might have. If you're a beginner, don't worry about this. But if you're somebody that subscribes to the rolling sampler meta like I do, you'll know that I've got this crazy folder full of all of my resamples that I've done in the past, I don't know, 6 months, and sometimes I offload it, sometimes I, you know, refresh. But as you can see, there's this huge library of all of these unnamed sounds, and it would be abysmal to try to figure out what these are. And some of these are basses, some of these are kicks, some of these are drums. But what I would recommend is actually grabbing something like Atlas or XO if you have it, and we're going to add this folder here. We're just going to pick the rolling sampler, kind of like so, open, and then we're going to hit build map. And now whenever this is done, we're going to have the entire library of all those sounds that are going to have my kicks, my snares, some maybe short bass shots, something of the sort. But as you can see, I can just generate a new kick, or a new kit rather. And there we go. So now if I want to generate a new one, makes things super easy, right? So let's say you don't have Atlas, but you have Ableton or Bitwig. then what we can do as an alternative, and let's say like maybe you've got some other samples that you want to use outside of whatever it is that you've made, we can grab a drum machine, and within this we want to grab a sampler. So this is nothing new. This is something that I have shown people how to do way long ago. There's people doing it on YouTube now, or yeah, on YouTube and different stuff, but this is a very old technique from Ill Gates. It's a great one. But what we want to do is we're going to create a new multi-sample here, and you're going to get this library. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up maybe Cage's kicks, because I love his drums. And now within all of these, I'm just going to highlight them all. Maybe not these 131s, but maybe just these, and toss these in here. And you'll see that all of these are highlighted. Now what we're going to do is we're going to right click, we're going to go to distribute select equally. And as you'll see within this little tab, this little guy has the select knob over here that will transition in between all these different kicks. So if I were to play a C3 on here anyway, I need to highlight this and turn this on. And then, there we go. Check this out. Now this is going to highlight between all of these. And so what we can do, just because I feel like these are a little bit low, is maybe we can set these to C1 and we can pitch these or something, but now I can do this with my snares, I can do this with my hi-hats, I can do this with percussion. And so what I can do is just jump into the beat making process and be like, you know, kick, snare, whatever, and then I can actually select through all of these to try to find a drum pattern and a drum aesthetic that is actually going to be conducive to whatever the track is that I'm making. And you can have up to 128 samples per sampler. So once you have that, definitely right click this and go to, you know, save this as a 128 rack. But this is one of the most useful tools if you're really trying to speed run your beats, which again, I'll mention a little bit in the future. So the next thing that I want to talk about is a little bit more philosophical, but it's more so in a sense of like an overall idea slash kind of approach. And what I want you to kind of consider is that likely the biggest challenge that you're going to run into is your own ego. So it's, I don't know if you all like have experienced this or not, but like every time I do a lesson with somebody, or every time I buy a new piece of software or learn a new skill, I'm like super inspired and I'm like, this is really cool, this is great. And then over time, my appreciation for that skill or my reliance on my confidence within whatever it is that I'm doing begins to dwindle, because I start raising my expectations of improving on my beat, right? Or improving on my skills. And so I'm like, this needs to be better. This needs to, you know, this isn't good enough. And so I really just want to frame this challenge for you about what it is that you're doing and have a very clear-cut goal. This is not meant for you to bust out the best music you can in 30 days. Like, should you put some time and effort into it? Of course. But the goal of this is to finish these arrangements every single day. It's not even a quantity versus quality matter. It is an output matter. It is, you are going to put this out, release it on social media, tag me if and when you do. But that is what you are trying to accomplish within this challenge. It doesn't matter how good it sounds. It doesn't matter how bad it sounds. You could literally just grab a loop that's a melody and, you know, filter it in, let the loop play with the melody, add a bass line or something, filter it out, and then that's it. Don't overcomplicate it. Like that's all it has to be. But you got to do it every day, right? So don't let your ego get involved with this. It's one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you, even when writing music as a whole. Just commit to whatever comes out. Yeah. So there's that. The next piece of advice is talking about the arrangement, right? So again, what I'm kind of proposing on that matter is something that I kind of just covered, but if I were to kind of give you a guideline about what it is that you might want to like aim for is, let's say we add in a cue marker here. The first thing that we would do is an intro. Generally speaking, I try to make my intros as short as possible because I just want to get to the point. So I'm going to give myself, you know, a nice easy 8 bars on here for this intro. Then generally speaking, I have a main section that is anywhere from 16 to 32 bars. So we'll call this main section 1A. And usually this will be, you know, the let it go. Maybe somewhere in between after those 8 bars, I might do a second section. As opposed to doing like 2 drops or whatever, I like to have the groove continue as long as possible and try to do my switch ups within the main section, because that takes away the need to actually have a bridge. So I might do something like main section 1A. Then we let that play for, say, 8 bars. And then after that, all you have to do in order to kind of complete this is fade it out with some kind of outro or something. Outro. And there you go. That's your song structure. This is all it has to be. You can literally take, you know, some kind of, just for example, we're going to do some kind of riser here. Riser effects. Great. We're going to smash this in here. Then we're going to find some kind of drum loop. Okay. Now we're going to find a different drum loop. Sure. Then we're going to take the second piece here, and we are just going to time stretch this kind of like so. We're going to fade that in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. And we're just going to grab this kick. Kind of like so. And we're going to add some reverb to this. And that's my outro. So we've got an ambiguous riser that comes in. Right? Then we got a drum section. Then we have a second section. Right? That actually sounds pretty cool. Then we have another section here. That's just a very quick riser. And then it's over. That's all it has to be. So don't overthink shit. That's the Chi mantra. That is something that I got from his masterclass. But don't overthink shit. It really can be incredibly simple. And this is kind of the second piece of advice that I have regarding this topic is speed run your arrangement, then do the details later, right? If you have a melody, it's very easy because all you have to do is figure out how to get a melody over a beat and then maybe switch up the melody ever so slightly. And then you can break apart that melody into a chord or into just a single tone. It's so easy to work with once you kind of have something like that. I don't care if you use Splice. I don't care if you just do a quick super sketch. That's not what I'm worried about. Just put it together, right? Just put it together. That's all I care about. So remember that there's no pass and there's no fail. This is a challenge. You can always like restart your 30 days, right? So if you know that this isn't going to be something that you can do, you don't have to start November 1st when I'm going to start. You can be like, I'm going to start on the 5th and I'm going to go from the 5th until the 5th, or, you know, maybe there's 31 days in the month or whatever. So you're going to go the 5th until the 4th, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can always reset. There's no time limit on setting this challenge. This is just something that I'm setting for myself and something that I'm inviting for you all to participate and have some fun with me. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't sweat it. It's your journey, and I don't care. I'm not going to be upset with anybody, even myself. Right? I would be upset with myself, but I wouldn't be upset with anybody else if they were like, I couldn't, you know, for whatever circumstances, I was unable to do it. That being said, I am going to leave you with this piece of advice that I got from my instructor, which is don't make excuses for why you can't get something done. Instead, make excuses for why you need to get things done. And if you have that mindset, whenever you get into this challenge, you will be successful. So with that, I know that this was kind of like a weird, ambiguous, like quick tip firing thing, but I just wanted to give you a precursor to how to set yourself up for success, both mentally and organization wise, to make this challenge a little bit more doable or make it seem a little bit more attainable. It really is all in your head about how to think about making the music. And once you have some basic skills an hour and a half a day. That's all you need for you to design your sessions and stuff. You can spend one day doing like your entire week's worth of projects in like 2-3 hours, right? If you use one of my presets or whatever, you just bounce out some melodies, bounce out some basses, get your drums together, you're good to go. So don't sweat it. That being said, don't overthink it. Have a good time, and be sure to tag me if you all choose to participate, and join the Discord where we will have our weekly sessions that you can post. So I'll have week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4 respectively. With that out of the way, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you all, got some insight out of this, and I look forward to hearing what you all put out whenever November hits. See you all in the next one.